time to meet some franchisees. So how about Tim Hawes? Tim actually joined us last month, and I was so impressed with Tim. Tim is a great communicator. He is a good friend and a newer franchisee. So Tim, will you share with us, let me pull up a little bit about Tim here, share more about what attracted you to ERA, what you found since coming on board, and perhaps any advice you can give the candidates out there considering an ERA franchise. Are you there, Tim?
Sure. Good evening, Red. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Nice to see you again. How are you?
You too.
So my name is Tim Hawes, and I am a licensee in Jacksonville, Florida. As Red mentioned, I joined the organization approximately 10 years ago after a 35-year, very structured corporate career.
Tim, I think you said you joined us 10 years ago?
I'm sorry, 10 months ago.
Thank you.
Forgive me. Forgive me. At the time I left my corporate career, I literally had absolutely no idea what I was going to do next. What I did know is that I was looking for something that was much more entrepreneurial, something that allowed me to manage my own schedule and craft the lifestyle that I was looking for at this stage of my career. After 10 years of extensive international travel, I was looking to stay a bit closer to home. So I did some very, very deep due diligence on a wide variety of franchise opportunities. During that time, I concluded a couple of things. Number one, I did not want to have a staff. I did not want to have an inventory. I did not want to have a storefront. And I did not want to have a retail operation, which takes the vast majority of the franchises off the table. What I did want was to have a very strong back-of-the-house franchise support system in place that was going to allow me to be independent, but at the same time have a promotional partner and a back-office support system working for me. So why did I gravitate towards and ultimately select ERA? First of all, I loved the product. I believe in it. I believe it's needed in the marketplace. It is unique. Some companies, as Red mentioned a little bit earlier, can do a portion of what we do, but our depth of resources and ability to look comprehensively at an organization's overhead infrastructure is truly unique in the market. ERA met my lifestyle, my travel, and my business criteria. At the same time, while I was going through the due diligence process, I realized right away that I was dealing with an extremely talented team of professionals, both with regard to the franchisor support network and equally as important with respect to my co-franchisees out in the marketplace. I did a lot of validation calls. I talked to people from all over the country. I talked to category specialists. I talked to acquirers. I talked to people who are more focused on the client management side. And there was one very common theme, and that was these were very talented, very committed people. In my world today, I am focused exclusively on the client acquisition side. It's an activity that I am comfortable with. It is compatible with my background, and it is something that I enjoy doing. Frankly, I am not and could not ever be a category specialist. I couldn't analyze my way out of a paper bag. I'm OCD, I'm ADD, I'm a whole bunch of different collections of letters. But what I do know is that I'm comfortable meeting with folks at the C-suite level. I'm comfortable talking to them about what our business can do for them from a strategic perspective. And then I have the fantastic capability of being able to bring in a team of people, particularly in the category specialty area, who I know an enormous amount more about each of their individual categories than the folks at the organization I'm talking to are ever going to have the luxury of being able to know. And that right there is such a difference with this organization that it makes the quote-unquote sell, or the trusted advisor relationship business development portion of our business, something that is very natural and very flowing, and something that a CEO, a COO, a CFO is going to understand, because what they're looking for is people that can be accretive to their organization, not someone who can simply turn around an analytical exercise that they have the full capability of doing internally. So, as I mentioned, I've been with the organization about 10 months. I've been fortunate enough to have some early success and sign some clients and multiple categories with each client. I am working in literally every one of the sectors that Red mentioned on the slide earlier. I don't care whether it's healthcare or manufacturing or a nonprofit, whatever it happens to be. Very simplistically put, if someone is buying a couple of $100,000 worth of office supplies, it doesn't make any difference at all what kind of an organization they are. And that gives us this unique ability to go after an extraordinarily broad array of companies, in my particular case, in the markets of Florida and Alabama, and talk to them at a high strategic level, and then as we drill down a little bit, to really get engaged at a category level with our category specialists. So I know that for me personally, it was absolutely the right choice. It has lived up to every expectation that I envisioned when I first joined the organization. I will say just a couple of things, a couple of words of wisdom from somebody who's been here for coming on a year now. You do need to be prepared for the fact that there is not going to be cash in your pocket, as Red said, in the first couple of months of your business. It can take a while. Our project life cycle has a certain period of time that it just takes to work through in order for us to get to the point where you can start billing for our services. That's a little unique, but that is more than offset by the fact that once you do that, you essentially have a 2-year annuity coming in over the life cycle of that engagement. So I'm happy to answer any questions, Red, or if you'd like me to touch on any other areas, just shout.
Thank you, Tim. You're great. I forget, Tim, did you have to leave early?
I got about 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you. We're gonna hear. I appreciate it so much, Tim, especially helping us 2 months in a row. So I've got a couple of the franchisees they're going to share, and then at the end we'll have some Q&A. So Tim won't be around then, but if you need to speak with him more, just let me know. And he's very busy with his new business, but I'm happy to, and no doubt he's happy to give you a few minutes if needed. So thank you so much, Tim. Have a great weekend. Enjoy 4th of July.
I will do that, and I'll just reiterate, I'm happy to chat with anyone who may want to go a little bit deeper.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it so much. Hans Stronk is a wonderful friend and franchise partner down in the Houston area. You can see Hans's picture and more information on the screen. Hans, will you share with us your thoughts about what attracted you to ERA, what you found since coming on, and any advice you can give?
Sure, Ed. So much of what Tim said I would echo. I got on board about 11 years ago, not months, 11 years ago. Similar to Tim, similar to the majority of the franchisees, we came from successful backgrounds in the private arena, and we left for whatever reason. I too wanted to leave corporate for all the reasons you can imagine, travel, politics, etc. And I did so 11 years ago. I bumped into ERA, and I had a very short due diligence process. To me, the model was self-explanatory. It was very simple to understand. It was very attractive. It was very non-confrontational. And my only question really was, are the analysts, are the specialists as good as advertised? Because I knew that I can sell. I knew that I could get in front of CFOs and owners, and I would be able to sell such an attractive proposition. So lucky for me, within 2 weeks of that, I got a hold of ERA. They had their national conference. So I flew to DC, and I had one goal in mind, and that was just to talk to as many analysts as I could, specialists, and kick the tires, so to speak. And I signed up before the conference was over. So it was a simple deal for me. It was a done deal. I've never regretted it, not for a day. I've never looked back. So that was my beginning. I'm in Houston, Texas, so my territory is the southern area of Texas. I had just moved here, so I didn't have a network to speak of at all. And so for me, the first year, as I knew it would be, was just going to be a matter of hustling and just showing a blue-collar attitude and following in the footsteps of the other people, my colleagues who had been successful, and doing what they did in order to be successful. So that's why I joined the franchise, not to reinvent the wheel or try something new, but basically just copy what the successful people had done before me. And that's what I did, sending out certain letters, doing other things. And as a result, I became successful quite rapidly and have had good success ever since. What I can tell you is that my intuition about the specialists was correct. They are really superb, and I can sign up as many clients as I want, but if the specialists are not finding savings, if they don't get the job done, then I'm going to get real hungry real fast. And so that wasn't the case. They really are very good. I manage them with each project. Some need more micromanagement, some need less, some you can leave alone, some you need to call some more. So that's your job, and that is fine. As long as in the end they know what they're doing and they bring the result to the client. So that's one. The major challenge for me from day one, and it still is today, is to get in front of CFOs and CEOs. So that is my main job. That is where I spend my time, and I do it through referrals and through networking and through direct marketing approaches. And if you throw a lot of different things at the wall, you know that you're going to get the results. And once you are in front of the CFO, I find that there's very little explaining to do. There's no selling to be done. I don't need to sell. This is self-explanatory. We're doing what they're doing. You know, they're looking at their costs every day, and so do we. So there's nothing new there. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not doing any kind of brain surgery. But where we differentiate and why we are successful and why in the end the clients end up engaging with us is because, as you heard earlier, we have the expertise, one, we have the resources, two, we have the leverage with the vendors, they know who we are, and fourthly, we have the data from the 20,000 or so projects we have done to benchmark against the data we see from the current client. So all those things make it clear to a client that, yeah, ERA can do more and therefore should be more successful more often than not than we, the client, are. And that ends up happening. So that's in a nutshell my life at ERA. I've enjoyed it. It really, as you heard, it is fun. It's different every day. You are self-employed, so it's challenging. Things go wrong, and just when you think nothing goes right, something goes right, and vice versa. I mean, it's unexpected things happen, so be prepared for that. But in the end, it is an unbelievable way to make money, to make good money. One final thought is, a big part of the reason I left corporate was to change my lifestyle. When I joined 11 years ago, our two boys were 2 and 4. And I wanted to see them grow up, and that's exactly what I've done. And I've been able to pretty much drive them to soccer and any other sports for the last 11 years. And to me and to my wife, that was a very, very important aspect of why I made this decision. So with that, Red, I'll hand the microphone back to you.
Hans, thanks so much. I appreciate that very much, sir. And and now, Eric Flask. Eric is a wonderful franchisee in the Chicagoland area. Eric had some consulting background, and most of our franchisees don't come from a consulting background. Eric did. Eric, can you share with us what attracted you to ERA, what you've learned since coming on, and any advice you'd give the franchisees that are on the call, the candidates?
Happy to. Thanks, Red, and hello to everybody. So as Red mentioned, my name is Eric Flask. I'm here in Chicago. I joined ERA in 2009, and I primarily focus on the kind of we call client acquisition and management. So basically, selling and then managing the client once we get them. As Red mentioned, I spent most of my career in consulting. I did a lot of business development in consulting, but I also did some of the consulting itself. When I got, just as a side, although I was in consulting, it was a very different space in ERA. So I didn't have a network. I didn't know anything about procurement or cost containment. So when I started, I definitely could leverage my selling skills, but I was pretty much starting from scratch. I didn't have anybody I could call. That was an easy extension of my old world. I was pretty much starting from scratch. But overall, it's been great. I'm very bullish on the business. I enjoy it. What attracted me is a lot of what Tim and Hans had said. I was at a stage in my life where I had a couple of young kids. I was looking to get off the road. I was looking to find a business a couple of things. I knew I liked consulting. That was one. Secondly, I wanted to be in an organization where the work itself was interesting, and I do find that with ERA. You work with C-level people, you're learning about different businesses and so forth. So I found that I wanted to have one where there's obviously big financial upside. As Hans had mentioned, I wanted to have one that, I had a good network I could tap into. So as I got to know the analysts and, even here many years later, I continue to be very impressed with the people I partner with. I mean, just the skills and the background of the team. Frankly, I think that's probably the single biggest thing in terms of value you're getting when you join the franchise is the network of people. It'd be virtually impossible to recreate that on your own. Basically that was just what drove. Oh, that was one other thing. I did at one point in my life, I bought a business which was successful, but so I sold it and I was happy with that. But what I learned in that experience was I don't like to manage people. I don't like the stress of managing people. I don't like the responsibility. I don't frankly like all the stuff that goes along with managing a brick and mortar organization. So what I had also learned is I said, look, I'm looking to do my own thing with a bit more work-life balance. I don't want the headaches of that more traditional business. So pulling all that together, ERA was just a great fit. As everyone else had mentioned, it's a lot of work. There's no guarantees. The startup takes some time, but once you get past that and assuming it's a good fit for what you like to do and your skill set, I couldn't be more positive about the opportunity.
Eric, thank you. Appreciate you sharing. Guys, we've got one more to hear from, and then we'll have some Q&A, and thank you for those who've already typed some questions in. We're joined by Jack Squires. I've mentioned Jack a couple times on this call already. Jack is our Executive Director for the U.S. He's been a franchisee. He was an area developer helping franchisees, and now he's over much of the country helping franchisees grow, build, and create the lifestyle they're looking for. So, Jack, can you share with us any advice you would have for folks considering ERA as their next career and a business ownership?
Hi, Red. Absolutely, and welcome to everyone who is joining us on this webinar. ERA is a wonderful opportunity for the right person. It's not a cookie-cutter franchise, so it's certainly not the right franchise to come into if you want to be kind of put in a box and follow A, B, C always leads to D. What ERA really provides, in my opinion, is the ability to leverage your experience and your skill set coming in the framework of a global consulting firm. So it really allows people to find their own path. One of the things I always say is there are as many paths to success in ERA as there are successful people in ERA, and I really believe that's true. When I came into ERA, one of the things that really attracted me to the model was I had the ability to take it in whatever direction I wanted to go. You're able, within ERA, to focus on the things that you really enjoy about the business. There's, I'm sure, as Red has mentioned, there's different aspects of the business and different parts of the execution model that take place. You're able to focus on what really makes you happy, what you enjoy, and what your skill set fits. And then we have this vast network of people that you're able to tap into, and joint venture is the term that we use, to bring them in to focus on the things where your skill set isn't as strong or where you don't have the interest to spend time. And that's entirely at your discretion, how you build out that practice. So the top 5 people in the areas that I manage directly, not one of them has the exact same business model. And that's what makes this so exciting. When I work directly with franchisees, one of the things that I enjoy the very most is spending time with them, understanding what their unique skill set is and their experience is, and then help them figure out what their own personal path to success is within ERA. And that just is a rush that I never get tired of, and seeing people experience that and grow within ERA and really build their own practice within the ERA model to what best suits them and what their passion is just one of the most exciting things that you can possibly have in business. This is a very straightforward and simple business, which makes it very exciting and very pleasurable to execute. You don't get bogged down with obviously the corporate grind and all of that. I often say this is the most pure business that you can ever do, because everything's been stripped away that most people, including me when I came to ERA, didn't like about corporate America. And really what you're left with is trying to maximize the value to our clients, because that's how we all get paid. And when you're focused on doing the right thing for the client, the money absolutely follows that every single time. It's not for everybody. I never pretend that it is for everybody. But if you're excited about the business opportunity, and this looks like the type of business that you would like to do, and you're ready to grow something for yourself as opposed to somebody else, this may be an extremely good fit for you.
Very well stated, Jack. Thank you. And we've got some questions here. I just pulled up, as you can see, the questions about competition. How does ERA stack up to other cost reduction analyst individuals, maybe the global firms, maybe the locals, but a couple questions around competition. We'll start with you, Jack. What can you share about competition?
What we find with competition is really kind of unique. We tend to have very niched competition. So there are consulting firms out there that focus on just IT, or just telecom, or just insurance, or just freight. What's so great about ERA is our breadth of categories on which we work. And the more categories that we look at for a client, the lower our competitive landscape is. To the point where we have a couple of clients out west that are extreme outliers, but we are executing 24 different cost categories for them simultaneously. I'm not aware of another firm anywhere in the world of any type, franchise or otherwise, that could come in and work on 24 cost categories simultaneously for them. So the fewer categories we look at, if we're looking at one or two cost categories, we certainly have competition. As we start to grow the number of categories we're looking at, in my areas right now, we're averaging a little bit over 5 categories per client. The more categories we look at, the less and less our competitive landscape exists.
Interesting. Thank you. Hans, any thoughts on that? Eric, feel free to chime in. Competition, have you encountered much? What's it look like?
No, I mean, you know, the competition is what Jack said, and it's very geographical here in Houston. We don't have many companies that do what we do. So my competition is mostly the internal stuff, and that is oftentimes invisible and not mentioned, so to speak. But that's why when we go to a prospect, we go to the top, to the strategic people, rather than to the middle management, the procurement guys who are tactical, who may see us because they don't know what we do. They may see us as a threat or an enemy or what have you.
Eric, any thoughts on competition? Certainly an important topic.
Yeah, no, I totally echo what Hans just said. Same in Chicago. I can think of since 2009, I think I maybe quote unquote lost an opportunity to somebody else. In almost every other instance, it's pretty much something they hadn't thought of. It's not like a bake-off where it's me and 3 other vendors and that kind of thing. There may be some internal competition where a CEO decides just to let his folks take a swing at it, but that's life. The interesting thing too is, as part of my business development, I do a lot of networking. So I'll go to these networking groups and people talk about what they do and see if they can help each other with leads. And the one thing I always love about ERA is you'll invariably meet CPAs, bankers, insurance brokers, folks who work with CEOs. So they're good folks to connect with. And as I'm in these groups, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, that's like the 4th insurance broker I met, or that's like the 5th CPA, or the 4th, commercial loan person at a bank. And they always say the same thing, like, wow, you guys are really unique. I've never heard of that business. And it's nice. From the business development standpoint, it's nice to be the only guy in the room who does what we do. And there's a real eagerness to connect and see if we can work together because it's unique.
Fascinating. Thank you. Another question here we have from Rich. He asked about how do you build your teams? So I'm assuming he's talking about how do you identify the franchisees, the analysts, the category specialists to partner with and to bring into your clients. Hans, this was asked at a Discovery Day one time, and I gave a long textbook answer to this question, and then you just said, Red, that's all good, and certainly you can do it that way. You can go into the internet, you can pull up 700 consultants, you can narrow it down from 700 globally to the top 2 US-based franchisees who are experts in print, who've been with you 8 years and done 80 projects and saved 20% on average. You can do all that, or how did you answer the rest, Hans?
I have no idea, Red. I cannot remember that, but I'm sure it was an impressive answer. Otherwise, you wouldn't remember it. But if I understand the question correctly, our network, the ERA network, is in the end very small. Under 200 people, and people like Jack and Eric and me. We know exactly where to go to, which specialist to go to when we have a freight project or a utilities project. Of course, we all have our own favorites, but it's a competitive environment. The analysts view us, the category, the client acquisition people as their prospective clients. So they do their best to accommodate us and to be successful for us because they know, one, that we'll come back to them, and two, we will talk favorably about them when Jack asks me, who do you go to for freight? Who do you go to for utilities? So we know, the go-to people in each of these categories. Maybe 1, 2, 3 is different for Jack than it is for me, but that's how you build a team. Is that, Red, what the question was?
You said it way quick and easy, and it was classic. You just said, Red, that may sound all good, but here's reality. You look to your right, your coach and mentor's right there, and you say, hey, who do I use for small package freight? And they give you the answer, and you move on. I mean,
that's essentially what you do. Exactly right. You call Jack Squires, and you say, Jack, who do you use for telecom? And boom, you got the answer.
Fortunately, too, the franchisees are so close-knit, you're going to get to know everybody pretty darn quick between hearing from them on calls like this, meeting them at a Discovery Day, meeting them during foundation training, getting introduced to them by your mentor and coach in the business, meeting them at regional get-togethers, national conference. Heck, our global conference in May is in Monte Carlo. So you'll get to know them well through a huge variety of options there. Question about... do you use other sources beyond your own analysts? Can you outsource it outside of the ERA franchisees? What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I've never had to. I mean, the team is very good, and not only are they knowledgeable about their particular category, but they know our process, they know our system. If I'm doing 5 categories, I want to make sure that everybody's consistent in their approach and their forms. So I've never had to in my and I've done an unbelievably wide variety of categories and different industries, and I've always been able to keep it in-house.
So yes,
I echo that. It's the same for me, Red. We have it in-house. Remember now, our model is not based on how many hours we work on the project if we're successful. So if I don't think that we're going to be successful at some really weird category, that's what I'll tell the client, and that's what the client wants to hear.
So regarding exit strategies, we all have different exit strategies, and ERA works with you on that. Jack is also asking, is business transferable? What about if you passed away? Are the residuals can you pass them to your family? And a quick answer is absolutely transferable. We hope everybody begins with that end in mind, whether you plan on working hard for 8 years and then letting the majority of the residuals play out over those last 2, or perhaps you bring on some folks to your practice and their employees, but ultimately you sell the practice to them as they help build your practice, or perhaps you pass away while owning the business. The residuals do continue to your family members, and depending on your obligations in the business, depends on how much goes to them. For instance, a category specialist have an ongoing responsibility to evaluate, to analyze each of the projects that they've helped implement over that 24 months. So if that analyst were to pass away, 100% of that wouldn't go to their revenue wouldn't go to the family, because someone has to do their job for them, has to fulfill the rest of the commitment. But yes, a portion of that certainly could go to the heirs, and ultimately we're going to help you find the right buyer for that to get the heirs paid. And the heirs aren't going to run the business likely. They're not going to jump in and be the franchisee, but heck, they could. If they wanted to invest in the training and learn the business, then we would be happy to talk to them about that, and that could be an option as well. So lots of options, but as you can see, we work with you to make sure it works out best for what you're looking to accomplish. I slide through a few of these slides here just to show you. You can all sorts of videos on our website. You can see at the bottom of the screen some additional videos if you haven't seen those. Now everybody gets links to these in the emails I send you, so you can get different aspects, different pieces of the overall business model. Next steps, we have a conversation more to get some additional questions answered, and then I continue to educate you everything I can about the business, and then you talk to your coach and mentor as you're getting educated. Then they introduce you to franchisees. We take it one step at a time, whether it's 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months. I work at your pace. Oh, I had to add this. There's a quick snapshot of 2 recent classes. In fact, the one on the bottom left just left today. These are all brand new, first day in the business right now, graduated this morning from foundation training. So proud of all these executives. And Jack is over there on the left side with his chin in the air. Nice picture, Jack. I'm going to mute him so he can't come back at me. And then some franchisees in Europe just joined this past month over on the right side of the screen. So lots happening around the globe. If you need to get a hold of me, you can do so with my calendar down on the bottom left of the screen. And you can connect on Skype, on LinkedIn. There's a phone number you can call me day or night. I'm here to help you. Be your tour guide to get clarity on this model. If you have other questions, I'd love to address them, and let's get together soon. Call me anytime or book it on that calendar. Guys, thanks so much. Thank you to Eric. Thank you to Hans. Thank you, Jack, for sharing. Looking forward to seeing you guys again real soon.